With the addition of Secret of the Mimic came a horde of new characters, and along with the characters came loads of mystery, lore, story, and of course, questions. Loads of them. But one of the most interesting and mysterious questions is obviously of Sleepy Moon. Is it the Mimic? A person? Is it possessed? Who's really hiding under the costume? Well, hop inside your favorite Springlock suit, grab some exotic butters, and let's dive right in. We first encounter Sleepy Moon deep below the costume manor, directly underneath the Storytime showroom. You may or may not have noticed the giant head though. It appears to be a large version of Sleepy Moon's head, crashed through several floors, and now ending up in the basement. The fact that it fell through the floors though is actually pretty crucial to figuring things out, as it implies that Sleepy Moon used to be a part of the Storytime showroom. It wasn't always trapped down here. That means whatever events led to its current state were part of a larger chain reaction, one that potentially goes back way further than we initially thought. Something caused that fall, and it likely wasn't an accident. Now, in Secret of the Mimic, mail logs are actually pretty helpful in figuring out the lore. In some of these logs, we read of employees mentioning an elevator that has been out of order for quite a long time, along with the presence of something already trapped below the showroom. These logs were made before the giant head falls, which means that the something that is trapped down there can't be Sleepy Moon. Edwin Murray, the owner of Murray's Costume Manor, doesn't even know what's down there. Included in these logs are pretty disturbing messages. These aren't just offhand remarks either. They're the kind of thing you say when you're seeing something truly horrifying. Something, let's just say, unnatural. This tells us that what's down there is more than just a rogue animatronic or a faulty machine. It's something that terrified the staff enough to record it in official communication. Now, before we continue, I do want to mention that this theory came from Twisted Animatronic, so please be sure to check him out if you haven't already, as he makes amazing FNAF theories. A lot of people have speculated that a technician was actually trapped below in the basement. For whatever reason, they put on the Sleepy Moon costume and then ended up Minecraft unaliving inside of it, therefore possessing it. However, there are multiple parts of this theory that don't exactly line up. First off, he wouldn't really have any use for the costume other than using it as a light source in the darkness. But why would he need to wear the suit if he's only using it for light? Secondly, if there was someone trapped down there, they could have just climbed back up the giant fallen head back to the upper floors. Third, Sleepy Moon wasn't down there when the elevator broke, so the idea that it was a technician would no doubt be a cool explanation, but it just doesn't really line up with the timeline, among other things. Plus, we've seen possessed suits before in the series, but they usually have very specific reasons or backstories behind them. This one seems far more deliberate and possibly orchestrated. Now, there is a theory that does make a lot of sense, and that is that M2, or Mimic 2, may have already been sealed beneath the showroom before the giant head fell. Edwin Murray beat M2 and had to find a place to hide it. In logs we get with Fiona, she says things like keeping David safe or the need to stop it. Perhaps M2 was already hurting people and therefore was a dangerous threat that needed to be stopped. What better way to stop it than just sealing it deep where no one would ever find it and then shutting off the elevator, the only way down or up? It's possible that this was just an act of desperation. Murray may have realized the thing couldn't be destroyed, and so containment became the only solution. It's pretty telling that no one seems to have come back to check on it afterward. When the giant Sleepy Moon head fell through the floors, it essentially opened up a direct path to the basement, allowing anyone or anything to go up or down. The Storytime showroom was closed due to injury lawsuits, which would mean that there were likely people present during the incident. This was also when the Sleepy Moon costume would fall into the basement. So it raises the question, was the costume pulled down by force, or did someone bring it there intentionally? Because if it was dragged, or if someone was dragged in it, it would imply that something intelligent, maybe even malicious, was behind the whole thing. We've already come to the conclusion that there isn't a technician inside Sleepy Moon. However, if the Mimic was down there at the time, could it have been the one in the costume? The short answer is no. Or at least, most likely no. See, the Mimic has very distinct mechanical sounds when it moves, no matter what it's mimicking. When we first encounter Sleepy Moon, we don't hear those sounds at all. Additionally, the costume was designed specifically for a human to fit inside, not an endo. In the books, it says the Mimic can contort itself to fit inside of basically anything, but the books aren't canon, so we don't have to talk about that. It's also just very unlikely that the Mimic would have stayed in the basement instead of crawling out when the giant head fell. If it had the opportunity to escape, it likely would have taken it, unless it was no longer functioning or had something else keeping it there. That alone makes the whole situation even stranger. Now it's time to talk about something really interesting. The voice actor who plays Edwin Murray also plays the voice of whoever is inside of Sleepy Moon. While this could just be chalked up to Steelwool not wanting to find another voice actor, and so they just used someone they already had, this isn't very likely, as the tiniest details in the FNAF games can have huge meaning, so it's pretty unlikely that Steelwool would do something like this. Reusing voice actors in this franchise isn't done for convenience, it's done with purpose. We've seen this before with other characters whose identities were hinted at through shared voices, so this detail might be more than a coincidence. Moon.exe. This is pretty crucial to figuring out the identity of Sleepy Moon as well, as in it, Edwin Murray is portrayed directly as the Moon character, with Fiona being the Sun character. This dynamic shows a clear duality and also hints at how closely Murray is tied to the Moon persona. So now it's time to sum everything up and finally answer the question, who is really inside of Sleepy Moon? Well, I think it's none other than Edwin Murray himself. After Edwin beat the Mimic, it learned violence, and at some point, it struck back against Edwin, dragging him down to the basement and stuffing him inside of the Sleepy Moon costume. It's no stranger to stuffing people inside of costumes, as we know. Just think about it. We never see or hear of Edwin ever again. He seemingly just disappears. But in actuality, he's just hidden deep down inside of the Sleepy Moon costume, and after he dies, he possesses the suit, roaming the halls of the basement forever. After all, this wouldn't be the first time we see something paranormal in Secret of the Mimic, but that's a theory for another day. Well everyone, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please make sure to subscribe so you can watch my future videos. Have a good night, and I will see you all the next time.